You found the WMIX Saturday Sports Show on AM 940 and WMIXSports.com. Cared for by Crossroads Community Hospital. The Saturday Sports Show has been recognized by the Illinois Broadcasters Association as one of the top radio programs in the state. That means the very best mix of local sports content is right here. From the powerhouse on Broadway, the Saturday Sports Show starts now.
Technically, everything gets started a week later, and people wonder why that is. Why not just start on the 23rd? Well, Thanksgiving, of course, is when it is. It's the fourth Thursday in November every year, and because of that weekend after, of course, being when the state finals take place at U of I, of course, now that'll only happen on certain set even or odd-numbered years. I have to go back and look for sure, but you have to go back 14 weeks. 14 weeks from Thanksgiving, of course, is August the 30th, and that weekend, voila, is opening weekend in high school football as far as games are concerned.
Well, this year it goes to Northern Illinois, odd-numbered years, I believe.
There we go.
And so every other year you get to travel about 5-6 hours from Southern Illinois. Of course, Southern Illinois can't get a team past the quarterfinals right now in the last few years. So I guess take that back. Harrisburg did reach the semifinals at Rochester last year. But the success rate has not been very good. And, of course, as you mentioned, you roll back. Normally what happens on the calendar is you have a weekend of high school football starting, a weekend of college football starting, and then a weekend of professional football starting. This year you get college and high school same weekend, then professional the next week. But we're excited. It's a new season. It's a new time. There's new practice rules involved, the acclimation period. We're going to talk to that with some of these coaches, but looking very forward to this upcoming not only high school football but high school sports season in general.
Sure, and of course, you look at our BDC lineup today. Of course, we're going to talk CZR football with Josh McCurren. Mike Rood will make his Saturday sports show on WMIX debut. Of course, talking Vienna-Goreville Eagles football. They made the postseason for the first time in their history last year. Of course, Mike Rood got that program off the ground. We'll talk with Fairfield Mules head coach Justin Townsend this morning. In the 9 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by Kurt Simon of the always strong Carmi-White County Bulldogs. Johnston City Indians head coach Dan Mings, a familiar voice, will stop by. And we'll also reintroduce to you WMIX sports correspondent John Shadowens, who will talk to BDC with him. Of course, a long tenure in the Black Diamond Conference for Coach. We'll talk with him about his thoughts on not only the BDC, but maybe get some early perspectives on some of the other conferences in Southern Illinois as well. Next week, it's the River to River. August the 24th, it'll be the South 7 Conference, in which we will have our first of many sit-down interviews, of course, with Mountford and Rams head coach Jared Shaner. Talk about many things happening with Mountford and Rams football this year. Of course, that'll be on August the 24th. This week, it's a Black Diamond Conference, and a very interesting Black Diamond Conference last year. Of course, it was one of those that you may recall if you've been listening to us for quite some time in last year's football previews when we sat down to talk the Black Diamond Conference. Of course, notably missing this year, unfortunately unable to catch up with Mark Beitler of Hamilton County, and, of course, Johnny Hollis of Sesterville, Waltonville, Woodlawn, unable to stop by today. But you take a look at the conference last year, talking to everybody. You knew Chester might be an odds-on favorite, but kind of lurking out of nowhere at times. Many thought Johnston City would be strong, and I think the surprise, at least for me last year, is probably the Fairfield Mules finishing at 4-5. Many thinking that you can count them amongst the top each year in the BDC.
Well, you can, and they've had some tough breaks. Last year was one of those seasons where Fairfield just could not get away from themselves, whether it's injuries or whatnot. And they started the year 3-1 with some big wins against Hamilton County. They opened the year against Alvarado, lost at Vienna-Goreville by 10 on a Saturday afternoon, and then came back and beat El Dorado at home by 2. And you're thinking 3-1 and rolling. And all of a sudden, some injuries, some issues, and stuff like that really derailed the Mules. And, they had a tough schedule. They had to go to Carmi. They had to go to Sesterville. They hosted Johnson City, hosted Chester. So it's one of those deals where, again, Fairfield got off to the quick start, kind of faded down the stretch, got a final win at CZR in Week 9 to finish off 4-5. But uncharacteristically, Fairfield does not get the playoff berth as we are used to, and I think that'll probably be some motivation. We talked to Coach Justin Townsend here in a little while as to part of his 2013 football season.
Of course, CZR, of course, Josh McCurren will join us as well. They finished at 2-7. A tough year for the Bearcats, of course. Of course, some things happening, whether or not that co-op will continue into the foreseeable future, and of course, just kind of a rift there after the whole school referendum did not go on in a recent election. So you have kind of some things there that we'll discuss with him. You look at the Vienna Eagles, now the Vienna-Goreville Eagles, of course. They make the playoffs for the first time last year. Mike Rood gets that program started off the ground, and actually, in the grand scheme of things, made the playoffs in relatively quick fashion.
Well, and that's the thing when you look at Vienna-Goreville, comparing them to, like, Trenton-Westland, their football program, how that kind of got started. Vienna-Goreville kind of fast-tracked a little bit. And I think, like Trenton-Westland, a lot of people thought when football started, the athletes up there in that school district would help that program out when it began. They made some playoff berths and some runs early on when they got into playoffs. Vienna-Goreville the same way. If those two schools can work together with the athletes that they have in their programs throughout their sports departments, you knew that was going to happen. Also with Mike Rood there this year, again, you know it's something going to be built. This is 44th year coaching high school football, if you can believe that, when I talked to him the other day. And he's seen all kinds of changes and also the coaching practice policy. But a lot of things, when you look at Vienna-Goreville, there's a lot of expectation this year, I think, with Vienna-Goreville. I was off by a couple of years of getting them into the playoffs, but a difficult place to go down and play. You're always going to play the Eagles on a Saturday afternoon because they don't have lights in their facility yet. They start out the year, and one of the few schedules every other week, home and away, home and away, home and away, all the way through week 9. They get the likes of Johnston City, Hamilton County, Carmi, and El Dorado at home. They have to go to Fairfield, which will take them forever to get there, and Cesar-Valere, Waltonville, Woodlawn. But really a favorable schedule this year for a team that made it to the second round of the 2A or the 3A playoffs.
Well, and you take a look at the teams in the BDC that made the playoffs last year. Chester was your conference champion at 9-0. And taking a quick glance at their season last year under Coach Brian Lee, going 4-5 in 2011, but a favorable move for them into the Black Diamond Conference. And then last year, their reward for finishing 9-0 in the conference was the Althoff Crusaders.
Yeah, and again, there's no way. I don't care. I mean, looking back through the history, I've looked up a lot of stuff. There's no way, to my knowledge, the South Sevens ever lost to a Black Diamond school. And, I mean, Chester was 9-0, playing well, beating teams left and right. They had 4 shutouts last year in the Black Diamond Conference, threw up a couple double nickels and points, gets to the playoff game on a Saturday night at home and just gets shelled by an Althoff team, obviously, who plays 5, 6, and 7A schools all year, comes in and now bumps down because of the parochial school policy in IHSA, gets to play Chester on the road. Althoff runs to a 2A runner-up, and Chester got stuck in the first round. I mean, it obviously a system that needs to be revamped, but you have to credit Brian Lee. He's had a lot of success after a 4-5 season the year before to come back 9-0, win the BDC title. They're always looked at as a favorite to win this conference championship.
And, of course, many will look at them and stick with them as a possible favorite this year, of course, depending upon what they have returning. That's always a key factor, and it's tough to finish 9-0 in successive seasons, but we'll see what happens in Chester. Johnston City, of course, finished at 7-2 in the BDC, a playoff appearance, but they had to travel to DuQuoin to take on the Indians at Van Meter Field.
Well, you and I took that game in, and again, it was one of those days. I remember a hot, warm day in October last year.
Warm.
Yeah, very unseasonably warm. We stood there on the sideline of Johnson City that day, and they're another team that, they began the year winning against Cesar, had the rain delay loss at home against Carmi, and then they got on a streak. Then they win 6 of their next 7 games. They get in the playoffs, and they really, I remember about that game as I believe their quarterback or running back got hurt in the first half, didn't come back, and from then on DuQuoin dominated home. DuQuoin goes to the quarters in 2A, but Johnson City, a team that, again, I think expectations for them this year are a little tempered. They lost a lot to graduation, but Dan Mings and staff will probably have things going there, and it wouldn't shock me to see them in the playoffs, but I think expectations are a little tempered down there now with a lot of loss of athletes in that class last year.
Well, and that was a game against DuQuoin, a DuQuoin team that you kind of felt might make a run deeper into the playoffs, and Johnson City was able to advance the ball fairly well early on. And then, of course, I think DuQuoin, first chance they had with the ball, maybe it was a punt return, kickoff return, I don't recall which, stormed it right down the field for a touchdown, and that kind of set the tone early on in that playoff game between the Battle of Indians. We're going to sneak a quick break in. We'll come back and talk about the rest of the BDC from a year ago before we sneak to our first guest, Josh McCurren of the CZR Bearcats. It's all coming up on your Black Diamond Conference football preview here on the Saturday Sports Show. It's powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Tegpal Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwell treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwell at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
Here's Jeff Schmidt for Schmidt Chevrolet of Mount Vernon.
We've got the all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado in, and it is a remarkable truck. We're very, very excited about it. A completely new truck with an option of a 6.5-foot bed on the crew cab, which is a feature that a lot of our customers really like. The ride and the handling of this truck is just second to none. It's the most fuel-efficient V8 on the market.
Schmidt Chevrolet of Mount Vernon, 3423 Broadway in Mount Vernon.
America is a nation on wheels. Everyone has at least one automobile. We use them for shopping, work, everything we do. But they can be a threat. Some accidents can't be prevented. Your professional Pekin Insurance Agency, Page Insurance on Crownview and Mount Vernon, can help protect you from a large financial loss when an accident happens. Call Page Insurance today at 242-7000 about low-cost auto insurance from Pekin Insurance. Ask them about the many money-saving discounts that are available. Depend on your hometown professionals. Pekin Insurance.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Glad to have you with us. Black Diamond Conference preview time. Of course, next week it's the River to River. And on the August the 24th, I don't know why I just put a "the" in front of August, but be that as it may, August 24th, it'll be the South 7 Conference. We'll preview the Mount Vernon Rams. This is your home for Rams football, both St. Louis and Mount Vernon, AM 940. Glad to have you with us, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Of course, talking about the Black Diamond Conference, we told you about Johnston City's success last year, Chester's success. We talked a little Vienna-Goreville already. Fairfield's woes last year, CZR. Alvarado, a team that just, unfortunately for their sake, just can't seem to find any stability at the top of the head coaching ranks. They finished 1-8 last year. They got a win against Hamco, who finished 0-9. What's it going to take for Alvarado? One, keeping the co-op, if they can, might do them wonders. I don't know. I don't think they're getting a lot of kids out of Trico, but it just seems to be a struggle in Elkville.
Well, the problem is obviously coaching and rolling. One thing, they've not had a lot of success, everybody knows. Number two, you're rolling through head coaches left and right. Jim Hammers, another guy in between, and now Mike McElroy, a younger guy, 24, fresh out of college green, ready to go. You know, the co-op is wavering with school funding and driving back and forth and whatnot. That's a co-op along with CZR that's struggling right now. And they opened their year kind of oddly last year. As you remember, their first week game they had to cancel because of stuff in the locker room. I can't remember the exact name of what was going on, but they had to cancel that game and forfeited the week one game because they couldn't fit it in. So they started their season off on a wrong foot. And, you know, they're an enrollment with 436 kids because you have to count the Trico enrollment with the Alvarado enrollment. And it's one of those deals where you don't like to say doormat, but everybody kind of looks at them as a win. Now, maybe Coach McElroy will get things going down there, maybe youthful exuberance or whatever. Battling a lot of things right now, battling if they're going to have the co-op again, battling numbers of people coming out. Tough way to start the year. They're going to start their season 4 of their first 5 games on the road, and they're going to go to Carmi-White, Fairfield, El Dorado, and Vienna-Goreville in their first 4 out of 5 games. That is an uphill task for the Falcons co-op team this year.
Well, and of course, noticing now looking at the 2013 schedule, not only did the IHSA calendar roll over, the Black Diamond Conference schedule rolled over. Of course, that week 1 issue with Alvarado and CZR last year, now it's a week 2 home game for Alvarado this year, but just it's a struggle for the Falcons. Of course, Mike McElroy, out of Southern, fresh out, has the job down there, and it's certainly not going to be an easy one. And a job that really is never easy is that of Brandon Hampton's down there in El Dorado. The Eagles were 4-5 last year, but expectations are always high down there in Saline County.
You know, and I like what El Dorado, Brandon Hampton's done. I remember when he first came back to El Dorado, and that program at that point was nothing like it was in the late 80s, early 90s, where it was just a buzzsaw 2A, 3A football playoff powerhouse. He came in and took that program, and I remember specifically interviewing him at our sister station that when he first came in, it was a case of I'm going to have to build things up from the outside first, then get to the field. He did that with, they restructured some things in their facilities, their weightlifting, their paint jobs on things. They got things going. Now they're winning, and now they're expected to do things. And they're another team. It's a very difficult place to go play. They did go 4-5 last year. They battled some injuries down the stretch as well. A program that's on the turn up at 355 kids enrollment this year, going to be a 2A school if they can get in. I look at it again. They host Carmi, host Fairfield, host Chester. That's a nice thing to have, not to have to make that El Dorado to Chester trip. But, at Johnston City, at Hamilton County, a couple tough games there. But, El Dorado's got some things coming back. It wouldn't shock me to see them get back in the playoffs again this year.
Well, and of course they play week 1, the team that knocked them out last year, the Sesterville Red Devils, on the road this year to open up the season due to the conference rollover. Of course, that was a game last year I think went down to the wire, at least was relatively close, maybe a touchdown difference in week 9 at home last year in El Dorado, where SVWW, the Red Devils, were able to get the win and head on to the postseason against a pair of teams that came in 4-4. And,
right.
It's tough to have your season end like that, but at the same time, if one thing goes differently throughout the regular season, you're in.
You can look at El Dorado a lot of ways. They beat Carmi, who was a playoff team to begin the year, beat CZR, beat Alvarado, lost at Fairfield, and that was 3-1. Then they beat Hamilton County, so they're 4-1. They needed one more win the rest of the way. Ran in some trouble. They hosted Johnson City. Remember, Johnson City was dead in the water then. Goes to El Dorado, gets the win, turns their season around. They go on to the playoffs. They go to Chester and get shelled. And at that point, it's probably hard to get kids up off the mat. At that point, Vienna-Goreville came in, needing a win to get in the playoffs, snuck into El Dorado, won there. Then Sesterville, they came in and won again. It was a team that just couldn't get it done down the stretch. They started 4-1, and when they started 4-1, lost their last 4 games, just couldn't get it done.
Well, then you take a look at Hamco, and rival to the El Dorado Eagles, the McLeansboro Foxes, of course. You take a look at their season last year, and the 0-9, Mark Beitler, I believe, in his first, having taken over for Rush down there. Mm-hmm. And not an easy way to have your first season. Of course, a lot of pressure. You have the renaming of the field to Carl-Malk Field. You have the pride and pageantry of that last year, and unfortunately no wins to show for it. That's
a program, Coach Beitler. We will have him on for our Hamilton County fans that are listening, or BDC fans in general. We'll either have him on next week or the week after. He's busy this weekend right now, but it's a tough situation. Hamilton County, I believe, and I'd have to go back and look at some of my notes, but I think they have the longest losing streak right now in Southern Illinois. It's somewhere up in the 20s right now. It's going to be a case of, can you turn the culture, turn the attitude to get a win? What I see out of them this year is the fact that for Hamilton County, they're going to start off with 4 of their first 5 games at home. That's where they're going to have to make their hay against the likes of Chester, Fairfield, SVWW, and El Dorado. If they can get some wins of having 4 of their first 5 at home, that will help Coach Beitler and that program get some things turned around.
Well, and it's a McLeansboro team, of course, that desperately could use another win after some successes earlier in this millennium. I remember an 06 team that made the playoffs, of course, with some talent, and then just not quite having had the talent on the gridiron in the past few years. But Coach Mark Beitler seems to be in the right place at the right time, and hopefully they can get things turned around down there in Hamilton County. Of course, it is McLeansboro in my heart. Just Hamilton County was a geographical reference, not a school name, as is a popular topic right now and one of our favorite high school sports places to visit. But we're not that far removed away from getting you some stats and info all throughout the year, not only in our broadcasts on WMIX and WMIXsports.com, but the Saturday Sports Show as well, as I am seeing some of the numbers roll by my eyes at this very moment, and I am already salivating at some of the hard work that has been put in. We probably need to take a break. When we come back, talk to Josh McCurren about the CZR Bearcats, talk a little bit about 2012, but focus primarily on 2013. It's a Black Diamond Conference football preview here on the Saturday Sports Show, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
Hi, this is Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. By now you have heard about our new One Checking product. The new One Account is a high interest earning, free checking account designed for everyone. Unlike other banks that pay interest on higher balance, this account pays interest on all balances. From high schoolers to Warren Buffett, One will work for you. You can talk to one of us at 244-3000 and learn about the details. One, exclusively at Community First Bank. You will be one happy customer. Member FDIC.
Your spine is a miracle of engineering, so when pain strikes, your body is telling you to get help fast. The Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois is proud to feature their spine care team. Doctors Kowalski and Smith, the professionals at Orthopedic Center, specialize in back and neck pain. So put our spine care team on the job. Find out more online at orthocenter-si.com. Stop the pain, fix the problem, and enjoy life again. The Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois.
You can count on us. Yes, you can.
King City Chrysler's special tent event is running for a very limited time beginning August 10th. That's right, the tents are going up and the prices are going down at King City Chrysler. They have 0% financing on several models and rebates never heard of before. Their selection of cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs is the best around. Hurry into their tent event running for a limited time to find the vehicle you're looking for at a price you can afford. Come see their associates at King City Chrysler, 1603 Broadway in Mount Vernon, and be sure to browse their inventory online at kingcitychrysler.com.
Back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX Mount Vernon, WMIXSports.com, bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Danny Zerwinski alongside. I'm Chris Hugo. Of course, we appear courtesy of the aforementioned Crossroads Community Hospital. Glad to have them aboard. Glad to be talking Black Diamond Conference football with you. We're previewing 2013 and proud to welcome our first guest. He is Josh McCurren, of course, of the CZR Bearcats. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, you guys. How are you doing this morning?
You know what, doing pretty good. We finally are at that point where we get to talk some high school football. Hard to believe the season is almost here. It gets started a week later this year on August the 30th. Hard to believe, but CZR Bearcats, I'm sure, are ripped and ready to go for 2013. Of course, a 2-7 season last year, but that gives you something to build upon here in 2013.
Well, it sure does. Entering my third year here, the off season has been great. The kids have came in this summer, and they know the system very well now. It's the third year in the system, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on just teaching them the offense. They already know it, and it speeds up practices a lot better, and we're able to also add some things to our offense.
One thing I want to mention, Josh, is Danny Zerwinski, and I want to mention about the offseason. There was the 148 Combine held a couple weeks ago between your team and SVWW. I believe the second year of it, and this year you guys got to win. Talk to our listeners and tell us what that is and what that is about between the two schools.
Well, it came about when Coach Hollis from Sesser, he got the job up there last year, and then he approached me with this idea of kind of renewing the rivalry a little bit between Sesser, SVWW, and CZR. And so we got together and came up with this combine, and it's kind of like an NFL-style combine where we participate in lifting events and field events, and then we end with a 7-on-7. And it's great for the kids. It's great for the community. And last year they did very well and beat us in it. And this year, we participated well, and we were fortunate enough to come away with the outcome this year. And it's a good way to go into this break during this week and go into the season with that confidence and knowing that we participate well with a program like Sesser has, and we're just very excited for our kids.
Looking at that third year now going into the conference, you're a wily veteran of the Black Diamond Conference now. Becoming a head coach in this conference, was it everything you expected as far as the competition and rivalries and games that you thought coming into the head coaching job?
Absolutely. When I came down here, I heard that the Black Diamond Conference was a very good conference, top to bottom. I know when Carterville was in the conference, they somewhat dominated during years, but in my 3 years here, it's been balanced top to bottom. Anytime you go, you travel on a Friday night or even a Saturday afternoon down to Vienna, you're going to have a great game with whoever you play. There's many rivalries. I know our number one rivalry is Sesser-Valier, Waltonville, Woodlawn, but at the same time, we have the rivalries with Johnston City, and we have a rivalry with Elkville, and So it's kind of neat. Each week you could probably write a mini story on each school and who they're playing, and it just makes for a great football environment, great environment for each community.
Looking back to last year, your team, you gear up, you have the summer conditioning, you have the 2 weeks of camp, you have the 2 weeks of practice. All of a sudden you get to the Thursday night and there's a forfeit. Alvarado, Trico couldn't play. They had stuff going on at their school. Did that affect how your season started, the way it went last year, or did that have any effect at all?
I think it did affect us a little bit. We came out, all our emotions were put into play with our first game against El Dorado, and we played very, very well that game. But we kind of had that second game, which should have been our third, against Johnson City. We had a letdown there, and it just didn't seem like we were ready. We couldn't get everything turned around after that first week, whereas we should have been in week 3. We were actually in week 2 for us. So yeah, it did have an effect to us. The kids mentally, they tried not to think about it, but it seemed like with in the back of their heads, they were thinking, oh, we only get 8 games, instead of having the 9 games that you normally play in the regular season. So that was pretty tough with us for our kids and everything, and for the community. Plus, we lost the home game for it as well. So, yeah, it was tough for us. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year. Hopefully everybody's healthy in our conference, and we'll get to play a full 9-game schedule.
And then heading into this year in 2013, talk about some of the kids that are returning that you'll be relying on for this upcoming season.
Well, we have 2 returning all-conference players. We have Ethan Connor. He's going to be a senior for us this year. He's a tight end, and we also have a linebacker coming back, Dakota Gregg, who is also a senior. And, we're going to be dependent on those guys coming back as leaders for our team, one on the offensive side, one on the defensive side. And then our quarterback this year is going to be, he took over for us midway through the season last year, Jacob Towers, and did a super job. That was when we moved Tyler Atchison to our fullback. And, he got a lot of experience there. He's played quarterback through all 4 years, but he's had basically five games at the varsity level, but he has improved a lot over the off season in our 7-on-7 program, getting his footwork down. Very smart kid, and we have a lot of good seniors this year. So we're going to be kind of that team who we don't have that superstar that everybody's going to key on week to week. I think we have a lot of different weapons, a lot of different kids who are eager to play, and we're going to go out there and play everybody.
Looking at your schedule in 2013, you get no breaks out of the gate. You start off with 4 or 5 games on the road. You do end with 3 or 4 at home, but obviously from the way it looks, the key will be for your season will be that first 4 out of 5 weeks being on the road.
That's true. We are going to be the road warriors for that first 5 weeks. It doesn't start. It's not easy at all. We go over to the train yard over in Fairfield. That is a great program over there. Very tough place to play, and we have to come out ready to play from the get-go. Then we go straight to El Dorado. Also, it's a very tough place to play. They got a new coach over there. You can have a lot of excitement. A lot of those kids will be ready. Then we're finally home with El Dorado for our first home game. So, if we can get through those first 2 games and stay injury-free, it'll be very exciting to finally get it home and have our home opener. I know the crowd will be excited. I know our kids will be definitely excited to be home. And then week 4 we get to go to Johnson City and play on the turf. That'll be exciting for our kids. And then week 5 is our rivalry week with Professor Valier Waltonville Whip-On. So, we're excited about it. We know it's a tough task ahead of us. But the kids have had a great off season, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Of course, as we talk about schedules and taking a look at some of the open conferences and their difficulty in finding games, something that we kind of like to ask some of our Black Diamond coaches is it a relief to have that close schedule and to have a close conference, I should say, and to have your schedule planned out for years to come, knowing that you do not have to worry about finding games?
Well, I mean, to me, coming from up north, I always liked playing schools outside of our conference. Just gives you kind of a different look, of different types of offense. Because if you are fortunate enough to make the playoffs, and you run into some different types of offenses you might not see in your conference, you can have tape on that. You can have more of a scouting advantage on that to prepare for your games. As far as the athletic director goes, I'm sure our AD it makes it easier for him and makes it easier for the conference schools to know you have these games locked up every year. But if we would ever go to a 10-game season, regular season, or anything like that, I would love to be able to play somebody outside of the conference at least one game a year. I think it'd just be exciting for the kids. We could do a travel one place and stay all night, play on a Saturday, and then vice versa. They can come to our place next year.
Of course, kind of sticking with that schedule mantra, the IHSA, the heat policy that was released and decided upon, of course, over this past spring. How has that impacted your scheduling?
Well, not too bad. We did a lot of things at night last year and everything. During the summer. So the heat wasn't too much of a factor for us as far as the summer goes. Now we all know that weather's pretty nice now and everything. When we come into August, that first game will probably be 95 to 100 degrees. So we prepare our kids. And we have them in shape. We just do a good job of getting them physically and mentally ready. I think the biggest thing is with everything getting moved back and us starting school at the time. We kind of our two-a-days are a little different this year with having to practice like basically after school. And I think that the IHSA also put in a rule where you have to have 5 consecutive days of practice before you can go full pads. So that's going to slow our progress down as far as hitting and seeing what the kids can do, because kids look great when they're just out there in helmets and maybe shoulder pads and running around, but you really have to see how they do with full contact before you can know how they do in that position.
Okay, I got to ask this before a final question. I got to ask it. Let's say you start. Now, I'm going to be asking football coaches this all the time. You start practice and you can only do so many things. Helmet one day, pad, helmet and shoulder pads, all this stuff. Let's say a kid misses a practice, gets injured, whatever. It used to be had to have a certain number of padded practices before he plays. Is that the same, or has that rule changed a little bit this year?
Yes, you have to have the amount of practices before you can participate in that first game. So, like if we have a kid who misses, let's say, sometimes they might have a vacation or anything like that goes during that falls during that period.
Mm-hmm.
If they're gone 2 days, they have to participate 5 consecutive days before we'll let them go full pass. And then in turn, that will throw them off for the first game, possibly, because you have to have 12. I believe it's 12 practices in before you can play in your first game, and I think there's 14 days or 14 allowed practices in there. So you kind of can mess with about 2 days there, but we take that very seriously. We want the kids to be ready to play. And on their put it in their court. They have to. We want them there to be committed as well. So we know that this is when we're practicing. We get them the schedule out early so they can plan around it, and that's kind of the way we prepare for things.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. And then, anyway, our final question, and you'll know as you come on our show here at WMIX, we have what we call a sports social media question of the week. And this week's question is, what food item with bacon do you like to eat the most?
Food item with bacon I like to eat the most.
Yep.
I tell you what, I like a good BLT.
That seems to be the answer. White bread, brown bread, what do you like on it? Just normal?
I prefer wheat.
That's not bad.
Nice. So do you do mayo or Miracle Whip or anything like that?
Mayo is pretty good with it. If I order at a restaurant, usually it comes that way. But if I have my choice, I'll just go with bacon, lettuce, tomato, a little bit of mayo, and sometimes I'll even be daring, and I'll throw in some spicy mustard with it.
Nice. To accentuate the flavor of the smoked pork. That's outstanding. Coach, we wish the best of luck to the Bearcats, and you guys have the Mules to open the season. Good luck.
All right, I thank you guys. You guys have a great weekend.
Thank you. You do the same. Of course, that's Josh McCurren, Christopher Ziegler-Royalton Bearcats. Leads us off on the Black Diamond Conference preview. It's right here on WMIX and WMIXsports.com. It's a Saturday sports show powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to try to catch up with Vienna-Goreville Eagles head coach Mike Rood, talk about how the Eagles this year can build upon their first ever postseason appearance last year. Of course, Coach Rood got that program started from the ground up. We'll talk with him about that next after this.
I'm Jason Moore with a look at your next round weather. Clouds break for some sun and humid for today. We could see a thunderstorm in spots early on, high of 85, partly cloudy for tonight, low of 61, sunny for tomorrow, staying dry, high of 86, low of 64 for tomorrow night. Thunderstorms in spots by the afternoon, otherwise cloudy and humid on Monday, high of 87. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Are you interested in a career in the culinary arts but can never afford the high cost of cooking school? Rend Lake College has a low-cost recipe for success. For as little as $5,500 per year, you can get a quality culinary arts education in your own backyard. That even includes books, tuition, class fees, and supplies. Learn to master domestic fare, pastry, and foreign cuisine in Ina, Illinois. Save thousands on a culinary arts education at Rend Lake College. For more information, log on to rlc.edu/culinary arts.
Have you been by Second Chance Auto lately? The selection is amazing. Their lot is full of great-looking, dependable cars, trucks, SUVs, and vans. Family owned for the past 33 years, Second Chance Auto is the cure for summer new car fever. No one has a better selection of nice vehicles priced under $10,000. Almost all their vehicles come with a generous 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. There are no dock fees, no shipping fees, no processing fees, and absolutely no gimmicks. Just honest deals at low prices. Second Chance Auto, Route 142 East in Mount Vernon. Call 244-4582. Second Chance Auto.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
And we welcome you back. Saturday Sports Show, WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Alongside Danny Zerwinski, I'm Chris Hugo. We appear courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Glad to have you with us. Black Diamond Conference Football Preview Weekend. Of course, next week it's the River to River, followed by the South 7 on the 24th. So we hope you'll join us each and every week and follow us on Twitter at WMIX Sports. We're on Facebook as well, facebook.com/WMIX Sports, where you can find the social media question of the week. Proud to welcome to the program now, making his first appearance to my knowledge. He is the legendary head coach of the Vienna-Goreville Eagles. He is Mike Rood. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, fellas?
Doing pretty good. And, of course, for your program down there, of course, the Vienna-Goreville Co-op, the Eagles, you built it from the ground up. You got them into the postseason last year. How did that make you feel to see that a program that you started literally from the ground up finally made its way into the postseason?
Well, you know, and when you think of all the experiences or all the highlights you've had in a career, I would think that would have to rank right up there in the top. If somebody would have told me we would make the state playoffs in the fourth year of varsity football, I would not have believed that. But we had just a tremendous group of seniors who were very, very dedicated and had set a goal, and basically that's the reason why we were there, because of that group of seniors.
Speaking of why you were there, Coach, you and I talked about this the other day. We'll start off with something. You've been in football a long time. This year, it's new practice rules, all new stuff. Usually it was 2 days of running around in T-shirt and shorts. Third day, full pads, here we go. This year, everything's changed. Is this one of the, I guess word would be, wildest, craziest changes you've seen in high school football in your time as a coach?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, I really think it is. I think, having served on the Illinois High School Football Advisory Committee, you think you can make some suggestions or some things that you think will benefit the game in your state. But after serving for 3 years, I realized the IHSA is going to do what they want to do. And, you know, the advisory committee, I really didn't think had that much input. So I wasn't surprised that we had the changes. I think we hear so much on the news constantly about concussions, injuries, deaths. And I think I just saw on the Internet the other day a young football player died the very first day of football practice. So it doesn't surprise me that our state is trying to step forward and doing some new things.
It's been doing new things. We just talked with Josh McCurren of CZR. He mentioned the fact that with this new practice schedule and with the kids that have to be there, doesn't it kind of put an onus on the players that, hey, I have to be here because if I'm not, I'm going to have to go through all these practices and routines to be able to even play a game?
Well, I think the thing that probably bothers me the most is the fact that I don't think you can find another sport under the IHSA guidelines, or that falls under the IHSA, that you're told how many days of practice you have to have before you can play the first contest. I don't think we have any other sport in our state that tells you what you can wear to practice. And to me, it's almost like, going to baseball practice and telling the catcher he can't wear the equipment. We're told how many days we have to have for practice to play the first varsity contest, what we can wear, when we can wear it, how long our rest breaks have to be. And, I think you have to give the coaches a little bit of credit for understanding how to treat the kids and how to coach the kids. I just think I don't agree with the guidelines. I'm just not going to be politically correct.
There's nothing wrong with that because I think what will happen is, as we talked the other day, teams are going to be behind for a while. I know obviously you're going to get practicing and do some things, but teams are going to be behind when you don't have time and special practices. Teams will be behind preparing for the season, will they not?
Well, when you stop and think, when I was at Marion, we went 3 2-a-days. When I went to Johnson City, we did 2 3-a-days. So we were always getting in 6 hours of practice. Now to tell me that I have to go, I only get a minimum of 3 hours or a maximum of 3 hours of practice, and I got to play a game in 14 days, and I can't start having 5-hour practices until the 20th, of which we won't be able to do that in the first place because school has started. So, yeah, we're going to have to put football teams, players out on the field with probably half the practice time they've normally had in the first contest.
Last year, we'll go move on to this. Last year, your team went 7-4, made it to the second round of the Class 3A playoffs, losing to Greenville. Very successful year, a big 4-game winning streak in that regular season. At what point now, looking back, did you feel, you know what, this team's got a shot, we're going to be in the playoffs in the 5th year of the varsity program?
Well, I think even the kids and the coaching staff can pinpoint the exact time and the exact... At halftime against Fairfield, which I think probably would have been our... I want to say third game, we were down 2 touchdowns at half. And in the first 3 years of varsity football, there was no way we would come back from 2 touchdowns down at halftime. And we came back and beat them by 2 touchdowns. So I think that contest right there is the contest that really turned our program and turned our kids' heads that they could win.
Looking at your schedule this year in 2013, even with the loss of graduation, a unique thing, one, you'll play a home game and a road game every other week all the way through. Another thing is you have 6 games in the daytime. How unique is that for your football program to get as many day games as you will this season?
Well, it's really interesting. I try to stay off the websites and the fan comment websites. Coach Way is big on that, and I get phone calls from them all the time. Did you hear what so-and-so said or what so-and-so? I don't get on that stuff, but, people have said, well, it's such an advantage for us that we get to go out on Friday night and scout other people. Well, we get to scout one team, maybe 2, whereas when we play on Saturdays, everybody can come and watch us play that played Friday night. I think it's a two-edged sword. It works both ways. I personally love playing the Saturday afternoon football games. I really do. I'm sure there will be lights at some time at Vienna, probably not in my lifetime, but I like the Saturdays.
There's nothing wrong with that. You get all those games in. You also get to play a road game at CZR for a homecoming, kind of a homecoming for you as well. It's kind of unique. You'll have your last 3 games in the daytime, so basically you start with your team, you get in a pattern of getting ready for the daytime with a playoff berth. That could really help your team as far as playing in the daytime compared to other schools who may not get that during a football schedule.
Well, I think that's definitely an asset, yes. Our routine of, especially if we were to have, like last year, to have a playoff game at home, what time the kids know they get up, having our team breakfast, having our walkthroughs, everything that we do to prepare for home contests, that just tied right in with playing a state playoff game at home. So, yes, it is definitely a tremendous advantage for us.
Black Diamond 2013, is there a team in particular that you'd like to put the bullseye on as the favorite to win the conference this year?
Well, I think it's going to come down to 3 football games. So I think throughout the course of the season, I think 3 football games are going to decide a conference champion, and I think that's going to be Chester and El Dorado. I think it's going to be Chester and Carmi. That's going to be Carmi and El Dorado. Those 3 contests right there, whoever comes out of those contests, I definitely think it's going to be the Black Diamond Conference. Coach Hampton has got a group of kids that he's very high on, and I know he's worked very hard this summer. Kurt Simon's just an outstanding coach. And then Coach Lee, to me, he's one of the up-and-rising young coaches who, he could have left Chester. After what he's done, he could have moved up, but he's decided to stay at Chester. He's got the program rolling, and I think those three schools are going to be the top three.
When you look at the Black Diamond, it's a closed conference right now, 10 teams, 9 games. Would you prefer, as a coach in the conference, to maybe get an extra game outside the conference, or are you happy with just playing 9 BDC schools at this point?
I like the closed conference. I like the 10-team. I think a lot more conferences in the state are starting to look at it. I think you're almost guaranteed 5 of the schools in your conference getting into the state playoffs if the games go the way they're supposed to. But having never been an athletic director, never wanting to be an athletic director, I know that's a major headache for them if they're looking for non-conference games. And I know, talking to Coach Martin last week, I think his contract will be coming up with Granite City. He's got only one more year with the team out of Missouri. And then I've heard that Harrisburg would drop him. So try to imagine finding 3 non-conference games in your schedule. That's a nightmare for an AD.
I got to pick your brain on that topic before here at the end. Is it a point where the way the system is set up, obviously the Black Diamond doesn't get affected, but the River to River, the South 7, other schools that have non-conference games, is it time for a system overhaul or a system change to help schools be able to find games instead of having maybe to play somebody twice or travel hours upon hours just to find a non-conference game?
Well, I would think that would be something that the IHSA would be more interested in than telling you that you're going to have 3 hours of practice a day or when you're going to put on helmets and shoulder pads. I definitely think that's something that people need. I know Danny Mings at Mount Vernon was going crazy with, I don't know. I think he played Geneseo. I'm not sure. I think he went into Cincinnati and played somebody. I know he got maybe a Chicago Public League school. It's just, it's just not a good thing. And it's even worse for the South 7 schools because, to be honest with you, there's only really 4 of them down here: Centralia, Mount Vernon, Carbondale, and Marion. So they are the conference that's really behind the 8 ball.
And behind the 8 ball you are, as we will ask you our final question. We do a question every week, kind of off the board, off topic. It's our sports social media question of the week. This week's question is, what food item with bacon do you like to eat the most?
With bacon, I would say definitely it would probably be, I'd say probably fried eggs over easy with toast, hash browns, bacon, and a little bit of gravy over it.
Nice.
That's outstanding.
That's a good meal to start the day.
Yes, it is.
Coach, thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. Good luck to the Eagles on what we figure will probably be another playoff run. Best of luck to you.
Well, we hope so, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's a privilege. That's Mike Root. He is the head coach of the Vienna-Goreville Eagles and, of course, built the program literally from the ground up and has been so successful just about everywhere. Well, he has been successful everywhere he has been. Of course, stops, correct me if I'm wrong, Johnston City prior to Vienna. Of course, he had a stop, I believe, CZR, Marion. He's been in the South 7, so a lot of experience.
Kankakee, Bishop McNamara.
I forgot all
AJ,
about that.
and then Marion, then Johnson City, and then, of course, here at Vienna-Goreville. So he has had 44 years of high school coaching experience, whether it's the assistant version or the head coach version.
Knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So there you go. Added a lot to our program. We're going to take one quick break. When we come back, we're going to kind of tease hour number 2 and talk about this Black Diamond Conference here in 2013. It is your football preview the next 3 weeks. Next week, the River to River. South 7 to follow on August the 24th. You won't want to miss any of it. And then we're full-fledged into high school football and high school fall sports season, including golf, tennis, cross-country, volleyball, and the like. Of course, you can find our broadcast slate. Find it on our Facebook cover or the Twitterverse, twitter.com/WMIX Sports. But we need to take that break. Brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
This is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. It's been said that in order to grow, you have to change. Very rarely anymore do insurance companies ask the phrase to go out and get 3 estimates. The new phrase insurance companies are asking is, would you like to take your vehicle to one of our direct repair facilities? This is a way for your insurance company and collision repair center to help relieve the stress you may have from your unfortunate incident. And as Landers Collision Centers has adapted to this forever-changing industry, we are extremely happy to announce that we are a direct repair facility for over 10 different insurance companies. It's likely that one of them is yours. From dealing with your insurance company, setting you up with a rental vehicle, lifetime warranty on repairs, and of course, Landers Free lifetime detailing for qualified customers, Landers Collision Centers literally takes the stress from your incident and turns it back into a shiny new ride for you to enjoy again. Landers is here for you whenever you need us. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. 1-888-LANDERS. That's 1-888-LANDERS.
State Farm, this is Jessica.
Hey, Jessica, Jerry Newman. Does State Farm offer more discounts to more drivers?
Yep, like the good driver discount.
So it's for good, but not great drivers.
No, Jerry. There's also the multi-line discount.
For calling from multiple lines while driving.
You should never use a phone while driving.
I only make calls from my car when I'm stuck in a ditch or something.
Are you in a ditch?
Yes, I am.
State Farm offers more discounts to more drivers than any other insurance company. Get to a better state.
One more reason to call State Farm agent Tony Wilton Mount Vernon at 242-1421.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Tegpaul Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
Glad to have you back. WMIX Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
As we head into hour number 2, of course, still plenty of Black Diamond Conference football preview talk to be had. Fairfield's Justin Townsend, Carmi-White County's Kurt Simon, Johnston City's Dan Mings, and of course we'll talk with WMIX sports correspondent John Shadowens a little bit later in the 9 o'clock hour. Don't forget today it's the Kelly Lewis Memorial Poker Run starting at Dale's Harley-Davidson. Here in the King City, you'll make stops in Woodlawn, New Minden, of course, eventually you'll wind your way back into Mount Vernon. It all starts at 11 o'clock. Proceeds go to childhood cancer research, of course, through St. Jude's. So a great cause. It starts at 11 o'clock today. Raffle tickets will be available. And all proceeds, again, go to childhood cancer research and hopefully finding a way to eradicate that problem. So best of luck to them today. Looks like the weather will hold off and should be a nice day for a poker run. You can drive or you can have a motorcycle. Doesn't matter which. They will welcome all comers to try to raise money for childhood cancer research. That's Dale's Harley-Davidson today. Gets started at 11 o'clock. So there you go. There's a little bit of a fundraiser going on today. Of course, we talk about Black Diamond Conference football, kind of recapping what we've discussed thus far. We've talked CZR football, Josh McCurren. We've also talked Vienna-Goreville football with Mike Rood, and we've run down the conference from 2012 and previewed a little bit into 2013. And I liked what Coach Rood had to say. Of course, you're always going to. You respect a veteran with that experience, and some of the things that he's discussed with the IHSA, he's hit the nail right on the head. They're going to do what they want.
They will do what they want, number one. Number two, it's changed. I mean, the last 10 years, school starts earlier each and every year, it seems like, and you're not going to have the days. I can remember when football practice started, you'd have a week and a half of 2-a-days. Have a morning session, an evening session. Some schools would do 3-a-days. With school starting earlier and earlier now, you're not going to have the opportunity to go 2 and 3-a-days. And with the issues in the NFL and with the issues in college football and the afterlife of playing football, you're going to run into things like this. They're going to set things up. I mean, you don't pad up fully until now day 6 of practice. Used to be on the 3rd day you padded up fully and began hitting. Now you're doing this. My only question in this is, it looks good on paper, but the only question I have is, you just came out of a fully padded 2-week session less than 9 days ago, and now you're saying all of a sudden, okay, now we're going to get acclimated to things? Wait a minute. You just had 2 weeks of full pad hitting for 10 days. Now you're going to get acclimated? Somewhere along the line, that's got to be changed, because that looks kind of odd to have full contact with full pads for 10 days and then take 6 days or 8 days and then come back with this.
And really, instead of just having a guideline, I mean, if it's related to heat, instead of just having a guideline this many days from first contact day or blah, 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 could it not just be temperature-based? if your temperature is this day, because I know that makes your schedule all helter-skelter. But here's the thing. In talking about this, we had Jared Shaner on in the spring to discuss this. I talked with another local football coach about it at length as well, seeing them out and about. At what point, because of you have pads here but don't have pads here, and then you'll skip a few days and have pads here, at what point does that impact tackling and the ability to tackle, and at what point does that cause more injuries than anything heat-related?
Well, fundamental. I mean, like in the NFL, you got guys who are restricted free agents or lower round draft picks. They're not getting the reps to play. They're not getting an opportunity to play. You're seeing more injuries at the NFL level now because guys, you can't hit so much, so they're not used to it. Then you ask them to hit, and then they get hurt. This becomes, I think, for high school football, it's going to tinker. They're going to mess with it for a while. They got a system in place now. They're going to mess with it. And temperature or not, you still have head injuries, concussions, and stuff. That's what they're worried about, so temperature doesn't play a factor there. If you go out every day and figure out what's going on temperature-wise, are you going to tell the truth of how warm or how cold it was? There's all kinds of factors into this, and I think what they're starting out to do maybe close to what's being right, but again, that 10 days of full pad contact, and then you take about a week off and come back and do helmets, you got to change the calendar around a little bit to kind of get away from that.
That should do. Of course, plenty of Black Diamond football talk to come here in hour number 2 of the Saturday Sports Show. Fairfield Mules, Justin Townsend is next here on the Saturday Sports Show, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
I'm Jason Moore with a look at your next rad weather. Clouds break for some sun and humid for today. We could see a thunderstorm in spots early on, high of 85, partly cloudy for tonight, low of 61, sunny for tomorrow, staying dry, high of 86, low of 64 for tomorrow night. Thunderstorms in spots by the afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy and humid on Monday, high of 87. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
This is Steve Savard from Peoria to Paducah, Evansville to St. Louis. This is your home for Rams football, AM 940 WMIX, Mount Vernon, a free service from Withers Broadcasting.
When you hear the warm, inviting sound of a crackling fire, what comes to mind? A rustic campground? A cozy cabin? How about the new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center? Our new family lounges feature a lot of comforts you might not expect. Things like this. No, that's not a babbling brook or serene stream out in the countryside. It's a 2-story waterfall located right here at Good Samaritan. And that's not the only way we're raising the bar for patient comfort. We've added lush healing gardens, as well as wall after wall of beautiful artwork, all designed to create the perfect healing atmosphere. And if all this sounds like music to your ears, we encourage you to check us out. Chances are, we're not too far from where you are right now.
The new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center. Raising a hospital, raising the bar.
Southern Illinois now has a better home for sports. It's the all-new WMIXSports.com. Jam-packed with local scores, video highlights, and archives of every local sports broadcast on WMIX. Did your team win? Missed that game-winning shot last night? Didn't catch your favorite coach on the Saturday Sports Show? WMIXSports.com is right at your fingertips. On your computer, your smartphone, your tablet, or your video game console. It's the all-new WMIXSports.com. Another free service from Withers Broadcasting.
And we welcome you back. WMIX Saturday Sports Show here on AM 940 and WMIXSports.com. Chris Hugo with Danny Zerwinski alongside, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Our next guest, of course, leads the Fairfield Mules. He is Justin Townsend. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
You know what, last year, a 4-5 finish. Of course, Fairfield always expected, it seems like by the pundits, to be at or near the top of the Black Diamond Conference. I know last year had to be somewhat of a disappointment, but you come into this year and expectations, of course, no different. Many hoping for another Fairfield Mules playoff run.
Absolutely. You know, we've 2 years in a row now, we've gone 4-5 and been super competitive. We've been in a lot of games. We lost several games by a touchdown or less last year. And it's definitely frustrating, but our kids have worked hard in the off season, and I don't think we're going to accept anything less than the playoffs this year, so it's definitely been a major goal for us.
Look at your start last year in 2012. You get off to that 3-1 start with a couple games at home, couple games on the road, and then really the schedule became very tough for you with Carmi-White, Cesar, Johnston City, Chester. I mean, that, like you said, tough games. You lost by 4, lost by 6, lost by 2. Did that kind of take the wind out of your sails of your kids a little bit heading in those last 2 games of the season?
Well, we knew we were still eligible to make the playoffs, right up until week 8, against Chester. So our kids still, kept playing tough. We've had a lot of, last 2 years we've been a little bit snake bit as far as injuries go. We lost an all-conference fullback linebacker last year. One of our running backs, defensive backs, who was also an all-conference kid, wasn't healthy at all last year. He still played. He wasn't 100%. And we just haven't got a lot of breaks go our way, and that's part of it. You got to make your own, and we felt like we still had an opportunity to make the playoffs. But you mentioned those teams; those are playoff teams, and if we wanted to make the playoffs last year, we need to step up and beat one of those teams, and we would have made it. So that's what it boils down to. You're going to have to beat some good teams if you want to get into the playoffs.
You played at Fairfield. You're coaching now at Fairfield in your 13th year, second longest tenured coach in a Black Diamond. What does it mean for a kid growing up, and then now you're coaching there, but for your kids coming through to put on that Fairfield football jersey and play as a Mule?
Growing up and seeing this, and 13 years sounds like a long time, and it's flown by. But there is a sense of pride, in Fairfield, and to play for the high school, be a Mule, play on the field, the train yard, and we've really built up this program, and we have tackle football all the way down into 3rd grade, and we have great numbers, and so I think there's a sense of pride, and what we'd like to really do is, we're going to be competitive every year. We'd like to get to the point where we're a winning team every single year, and we did that for a 5 or 6 year stretch. And we kind of dropped off a little bit the last 2 years, but I think it's really important for us to get back on track.
Well, I was going to mention it. Your program has won 12 straight Week 1 games to start the season. I know, I was going to mention it. Try it again for 13 this year. You get to play 4 out of your first 5 games at home this year. How much of a big advantage is that to start the year with your tean?
Well, it's a big advantage, but it's also, you better win a majority of those games. Because I know right off the top of my head, our last 2 on the road are Johnston City and Chester. So we got to be in a good position after those first 5 games, definitely, if we're wanting to make a playoff run. But it's always nice, definitely, to open up at home, especially Week 1. So it's going to be real important for us to get off to a good start.
12 years going into 13 in the Black Diamond Conference as a head football coach. What's the one thing that has stood out in your mind as one of those things that really has been a big change in the conference?
Well, originally when I started out, my first few years were still in the old NEC. So we were still playing the Mount Carmels and the Salems. We were still playing Robinson and Newton non-conference. So I think one of the biggest things that has changed since just enrollment-wise, schools have, in our conference, have really dropped. I know Carmi and us both, we used to be well over 500 kids, and now we're under 400. And I think the neat thing about that, though, is I know our football numbers have not decreased, even though our enrollments dropped considerably. We've still continued to get kids out for football, but it's neat also to see some of the teams, that are building the programs, and then another team steps up, and so we definitely like the Black Diamond Conference.
Talking about this year's teams in 2013, we have a couple people picking around and picking out favorites. Is there a favorite or favorites to you as you see going into this 2013 season for the conference championship?
Well, the one thing this year, I think a lot of teams have good kids coming back, all conference caliber kids coming back, that were underclassmen last year. I mean, I know we got 4 all conference players coming back this year for us, but I think El Dorado, Chester, Carmi are all going to be elite teams. I know they return a lot of starters, and I think they're all going to be a load. I think there's some other teams, obviously, that have had success in the past, Cesar and Johnston City, that, traditionally year in and year out, they're going to be pretty good football teams. And, we feel like we're going to be in that mix. Like I said, we got a lot of guys coming back. We got a good sophomore class. Going to have some kids that are going to step up and contribute right away for us. And that's where we want to be.
Speaking of where you want to be, we wish you the best of luck. But before we let you go, we're going to ask you one last question, our social media question of the week. And this week's question is, what food item with bacon do you like to eat the most?
Oh, man. You can eat bacon with about anything. I like to cook bacon wrapped chicken breast. Pretty good. It's
nice.
kind of cancels out each other. You got the healthy chicken breast, and then you throw the bacon on it. I like to eat that. So.
Ooh, that sounds really
good. That sounds amazing, especially with maybe the jalapeno or sliced jalapeno with that.
A little barbecue on it, too.
Nice.
It's pretty good. You ought to try it sometime.
I definitely will have to. Coach, best of luck to the Mules week 1, and, of course, we look forward to having you on again throughout the season.
Okay, thanks, guys.
That's Justin Townsend, head coach of the Fairfield Mules. Of course, as DC likes to point out, and will always.
Yep.
12 straight Week 1 victories, and it didn't jinx them last year, so I think you're okay now.
No, they're good. We talked about last couple of years. I mentioned it, but they got a long streak by a lot. I don't think there's anybody really close to him. Anna Jonesboro, I think, is next with 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. And then Carbondale Centralia have rattled off 3 in a row, but other than that, it's Fairfield by a long shot.
My favorite stat is teams who have started 0-2 and still made the playoffs, which we will visit probably after the Week 2 of the high school football season that following Saturday. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, of course, we have plenty more to talk here on the Saturday Sports Show. Kurt Simon of Carmi, the Carmi-White County Bulldogs will join us next year. Brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
Who has Ford certified sales and service technicians? Schmidt Ford of Salem. Who has a huge selection of new and pre-owned inventory? Schmidt Ford of Salem. Who gives top dollar for your trade-in? Schmidt Ford of Salem. Where should you buy your next vehicle? Schmidt Ford of Salem. Come join our growing family. Shop online at schmidtfordofsalem.com or give us a call at 618-548-1711.
Convenience and prompt service is what the Medicine Shop Pharmacy is all about. Pharmacy owner Eric Black wants you to know that his pharmacy's drive-thru staff will have your prescription ready in 10 or 15 minutes. There are 2 drive-thru windows and a staff member is always ready to serve you with a smile. Another great service is our delivery. We'll bring your medication to your home or office just to make your life a little easier. Here's pharmacist and pharmacy owner Eric Black.
What differentiates us is the level of service, the level of convenience. We have 2 drive-through windows, delivery here in town to business or home. Those kinds of things you just cannot get. And when you couple that with the connection, the personal connection that we feel with our customers and they feel with us, it really is we really have no contest with the chains.
Make the Medicine Shop Pharmacy your pharmacy of choice. They're locally owned and support the community too. The Medicine Shop Pharmacy, 2339 Broadway in Mount Vernon, or call 618-242-8776.
Hi, this is Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. As many of you know, our new product was launched on 7/5/13. We named the product to reflect our core values of serving one community, one county with one product and serving you one at a time. Community First Bank's One product delivers value by combining the highest yield in the market with access to your funds anytime and anywhere through internet banking, mobile banking, debit cards, and yes, even by writing checks. Call us at 244-3000 for details. One, exclusively at Community First Bank. You will be one happy customer. Member FDIC.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show. Alongside Danny Zerwinski, I'm Chris Hugo. We appear courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Glad to have you alongside for hour number 2 of our Black Diamond Conference football preview for 2013. We're joined now by the head coach of the Carmi-White County Bulldogs, the dean now of the Black Diamond Conference in his 14th year. It's Kurt Simon. Coach, good morning.
Good morning. Well, I don't know how that sounds.
Well, believe me, I always make...
Old or what?
No, not at all. I always make things like that sound awkward, so it works out perfectly.
Man, I've never heard that one.
Vintage. Did you have a vintage? Does that work for you better?
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to be respectful. We don't want to say, he's been here so long,
I hear you. with you on that. All right.
It's your expert tutelage, as they say. But a year removed, or 2 years removed now from 9-1, you make the playoffs again. Last year, you finished the regular season at 6-3 in the BDC. You run into, unfortunately, stop me if you've heard this one before, the KZ Westfield Warriors, of course, in the first round of the playoffs. But all in all, things seem like they could be shaping up again for Carmi-White County, the Bulldogs, to make yet another postseason run.
Well, last year we had some critical injuries about midway through the year, and it really, realistically, by the end of the season, I know we limped into the playoffs, and our hats off to our kids because they worked really hard and overcame some of those injuries and ended up winning a few more games at the end of the year and got there. But to be honest with you, by the time we got there, we were a very, very average playoff team. And but with that being said, because of the injuries that we sustained last year, there was a lot of younger kids that got a lot of playing time, and so we're optimistic this year with a bunch of kids coming back that got a chance to play last year. So this is the first time in quite some time that we've got a lot of experience coming back.
Well, a couple of your coaches, buddies, have already been on our show this morning. They've already kind of circled Carmi football as being a possible favorite to win a conference title. When you look at this, is it hard, getting Carmi football where you've won and been very successful, is it harder getting that to the top, or is it harder keeping Carmi in playoff runs year after year after year?
I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that one. I think certain people get to certain communities and there's a fit somehow or another, and it just works. We go up and down. We've gone years where we didn't go to the playoffs, and I think that there's just some kind of fit about the way some people can get into some communities, and things just start working. Once you get the kids believing that they're, that they can win, and it just kind of takes off by itself, I think, and you just have to be there to sustain it. So it's been a fun run and a good run, and we hope that it continues. But I also know the school of 375 kids or whatever. I've got young kids now. I got a freshman in high school, my oldest boy, and my youngest one's in fourth grade. And I can see where there's going to be peaks and valleys. Just like there always has been, it's going to continue. So there's going to be some years where you're not very good, and then there's going to be some years where you hopefully make that playoff run.
Speaking of making that playoff run, you look to 2013, and you get an opportunity to open a couple games at home, but you open on the road 3 of your first 5. How will that experience of your team members returning going to help you get through that road blaze there of 3 out of 5 games on the road?
Yeah, in my experiences in the past, the home and away thing, for whatever reason, hasn't been real critical. We've that 2 years ago we were on the road quite a bit and won all 9 of them. I almost feel like the road thing is sometimes better than the home game, just from a standpoint as you get on that bus all together and you travel all the way to Chester or wherever you're going, and it just kind of helps you. All those kids just concentrate a little bit more on, the game and maybe a little bit less on other things because that's what we're all there for. But it'll be tough. We have 15 seniors this year. I haven't had 15 seniors at Carmi. Maybe one other time. I've always talked about it being a seniors game, and when you got a bunch of seniors that care a lot about it, you got a chance to be pretty good. So I would think that with having more seniors that we've had in the past, that whether that game's home or away, if they lead by example and set that tone for the rest of the team, we should be fine.
Your team's one of the most returning veteran teams in Southern Illinois. With the new practice rules and acclimation stuff that's coming in here starting on Wednesday, do you think you'll have a little bit more of an advantage with the 15 seniors coming back than, say, another team that may not have those veterans returning?
I think anytime, realistically, a team, be it a size of a Marion or Centralia or whatever, or all the way down to Carmi and Albion. I mean, when you have a bunch of seniors, you'd have to be at an advantage. Football is a hard game to play. It's very demanding physically, mentally, of your time, this, that, and the other. And obviously, with it being that way, seniors, it just means more to them because they've put all that time in, and this is their last go-around. And so I think any team that has, a bunch of older kids, so to speak, seniors, that they're going to have an advantage, I would think, if all things are consistent.
We'll give you the opportunity. A couple of your coaching cohorts have pegged you as a favorite this year in the Black Diamond Conference. Do you have a team that you see as possibly a favorite heading into the conference season as being the champion?
It would be hard for me not to put Chester on top, I would think. And I really think that the top 3 or 4 teams are pretty close. Now, we've said that the last couple of years, and when you look at the scores and all that kind of stuff, it's never really panned out that way. But I think Chester and El Dorado are both going to be very strong. Chester in particular, and they're the returning conference champions. I think Coach Lee has done an excellent job over there. Their kids play extremely hard, and then of course, I think us and Johnston City and Cesar, Fairfield. I don't know. We're somewhere in the second tier probably.
Speaking of second tier, our final question to you is we kind of go off the beaten path here at WMIX. We're going to ask you our sports social media question of the week, and this week's question is: what food item with bacon on it do you like to eat the most?
What third item?
Food item with bacon.
I'm going to go with jalapeno pepper.
Nice.
Nice.
How about that? I bet nobody said that.
No,
but not yet. I was going to. That's outstanding.
I was just going to say, because my wife and I got that dubbed for tonight. I got the jalapenos coming out of the garden today.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, you grow your own.
So I've got to ask, because I'm a jalapeno enthusiast, as weird as that may be. Do you like to leave any seeds in them whatsoever when you do this? Or?
You know what? It wouldn't bother if I did, but I can't because my wife and kids would burn their mouth out. But no, we don't leave anything.
Very well. That is outstanding, and probably, in my opinion, the best answer we've had to that question today.
Yeah, I can do more than just coach football.
I can't believe the number of coaches I've met that are culinary experts, and just some of the recipes they come up with just along the way.
Uh-huh.
But, Coach, we wish you the best of luck. Of course, I know you open the season this year at home against Alvarado Trico, so good luck against the Falcons, and hopefully we can talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Good to be talking football again.
Always a pleasure, and it is hard to believe the football season almost here. August the 30th will be the first kickoff. You're wondering why? Why so late? Well, Thanksgiving, of course, always the fourth Thursday in November. 14 weeks back is actually August the 30th. So there you go. That's when football season starts. Your home for Mount Vernon Rams football with streaming video is AM 940 and WMIXsports.com. Maybe a new home integrated this year as well. We'll tell you all about that throughout the season. We need to get to our next head coach, Johnston City's Danny Mings. After the break, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
More Americans are on a move today than ever before. One of the most popular modes of transportation is the motorcycle. Motorcycles take us to our jobs, school, to the beach, and all around the country. If you're a bike rider, your Pekin Insurance Agency, Page Insurance on Crownview in Mount Vernon, wants to make sure you have the best insurance protection while you're riding. Ask about the money-saving auto cycle discount and the experienced driver discount, too. Call Page Insurance at 242-7000 today about motorcycle insurance from Pekin Insurance.
You can count on us. Yes, you can.
Luxury has been reinvented with the latest innovations from the 2013 Lincoln MKX and MKZ. The king of luxury crossovers is back at Ford Square in Mount Vernon with many innovations including heated and cooled front seats, panoramic vista roof, and available ambient lighting. You'll love everything the MKX has to offer. And don't forget the redesigned 2013 Lincoln MKZ. With elegant fluid lines, every surface is faceted with many dimensions of discovery. Inside you'll find genuine wood appliances with global open power windows and premium leather trimmed interior. For a very limited time, enjoy $4,000 in dealer discount plus 0% financing for up to 60 months on the MKX and MKZ. See their selection of Lincoln Luxury at Ford Square, 1501 Broadway in Mount Vernon, or online at fordsquare.com.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX Mount Vernon. Bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, also worldwide at WMIXsports.com. Give us a follow on the Twitterverse at WMIX Sports. Don't forget our social media question of the week on Facebook as well. Chris Hugo with Danny Zerwinski alongside, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Also, a very petrified Avery Barton still in studio with us as he was scared and nervous calling our next guest. He is Johnston City Indians head coach Dan Mings. Coach, good morning.
Boys, how you doing this morning?
You know what? A little sweeter since we've heard the sweet sounds of the voice of Dan Mings.
Hey, I can't wait to talk to you guys.
Well, Avery was scared of you. He goes, I can't believe I called him and said Dan Mings.
Yeah, I know. That was funny.
What's not funny, of course, is the long-standing success of the Johnston City Indians. In fact, take their football pretty seriously. They're in northern Williamson County. And, of course, last year you make the postseason. You get a tough draw against the DuQuoin Indians. But this year, no reason not to think that Johnston City won't make another run to the postseason.
Well, I tell you what, we are definitely in a reload situation. You know, the class we just graduated, they won 28 games over the 3 years that they started, sophomores through seniors. So we're definitely in a reload type of a deal. But the kids are working hard. We've got a 3-year returning quarterback coming back, so that's going to be our benefit. But, it's just everybody's trying to find their places where they go. And, it's been a while since I've been in this type of situation, but we're looking forward to it.
Last year, your team wobbled. We were 3-2, went on that big 4-game winning streak to end the year to get in the playoffs. A kind of a gutsy effort by your team, and then going to DuQuoin on the road really showed a lot of heart and guts as your team down the stretch and in that playoff game.
Well, going backwards, we played probably the best first half of a football game versus DuQuoin that, I've had a team of mine play and since maybe the 05 type year that we had there at Mount Vernon. But, to hold DuQuoin to 4 offensive plays in the first half and really control the game and control the tempo. And then we had the injury right before halftime, and that was it. Just didn't have the depth that we needed to have, and then it sort of steamrolled on us. But right at the very beginning, everything was looking real good for us. But, the last 2 years, we haven't really drawn the first year we went 8-1, and we draw Casey, who plays it for a state title that year. And then, last year we got DuQuoin, and, I think they made it to the quarterfinals. And, we haven't been lucky in the playoff draws, but, that was then, and this is now. And it's going to have to go through the same way it did last year. Things are going to have to fall into place for us to get there, and our numbers are up. The kids are excited, the kids are working hard, but when you don't have that on-field varsity experience, it takes a little bit of just getting out there and playing and seeing what you got. The Black Diamond Conference is going to be way up this year. With 7 teams, I think a legitimate 7 teams. Fighting for a playoff spot. So a lot of parity, as far as the conference goes, with Chester being superior to everybody else. And then, Carmi is right there with them. So, and I know El Dorado is loaded with seniors this year. This is the class that they've been waiting on. So there's just a lot of things in this conference. We got lucky last year. We beat Fairfield with, like a minute left, and then they get the ball with a minute and go about 70 yards and run out of time. So, it's things are just going to have to go well for us.
Speaking of going well, this year we talked to other coaches. Mike Rood was one. You've been a veteran of this as well, football. The changes in the practice schedule, you lost a lot to graduation. With the changes in the practice schedule, do you see that as a positive or negative heading down the road in football, or do you feel like you might not be as prepared as you have been in the past as far as what the IHSA has laid out?
Well, I may be a genius because that's the way that I've done practices for about 10 years. We don't go, we only practice basically 2 days hard a week. We don't go over the 3-hour time limit, obviously. Mondays we use as our film and our walkthroughs and those types of things, and Thursdays pregame. So, I'm okay with them, just as long as they don't cut anything else out and, going, an extra day with helmets and then just helmets and shoulder pads for, whatever the days are. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Just as long as they don't, make us wear flags around their waist and, do those kind of things, I think we'll be all right.
First of all, you referred to yourself as a genius, which your self-esteem must be much improved down there just because you said something nice about yourself. But I have to ask, has
not a genius, I promise you.
Yes, you are. Has the not having to travel overnight, the fact you're in a closed conference, your schedule's set for you, don't have to worry about going to Cincinnati or Chicago or Geneseo for a regular season game, has that finally set in? Is it nice to have that feeling, that secured nature?
It is nice. You know what? But we were talking a couple of weeks ago and with some guys, and that was a really neat experience. And at that point, the football was up for us, and it was just a neat thing, to say, hey, guys, we're going to load up on the bus, we're going to stop here, you got the itinerary, we're going to stop halfway, we're going to get out, we're going to stretch, we're going to go to a walkthrough at another facility, and it was sort of a college-type atmosphere, when I was there at the Vern, and I enjoyed it. Was it stressful? Absolutely stressful. Did I enjoy it as much as I should have while we were doing it? Probably not, because you're always looking, can't see the forest for the trees type thing. But, that was neat. It had its place. But, this conference is a lot conference, and, our longest trip here is maybe an hour and 15 minutes, so, that definitely has its positives. You know who you're going to play from year to year. You know what your schedule is going to be. You know who the coaches are all the time. So that part of it is really nice. But, the privilege, I guess, of going through that time span there in Mount Vernon and being able to play the Cincinnati Withrows and the Metamores and Geneseos and, Oak Park Fenwick and, all those guys, that was pretty neat. When you look at it, it was just a pretty cool thing.
We've come a long way since the Baymont Inn in Erlanger, Kentucky. I can say that right now. Come a long way.
I guarantee you that. I remember the conversation we were having in the hallway that day and or that night or that morning or whatever it was. And but yeah, things change and people change, but it was something that I'm going to always hold in my heart as a great time.
Speaking of great time, I know you can answer this question. You know how it goes. It's our sports social media question of the week. This week's question is, what food item with bacon do you like to eat the most?
Bacon.
Yeah, with bacon. What food item with bacon on it or around it or with it do you like to eat the most?
Bacon.
Bacon. Got it.
You're a bacon guy.
Bacon is about the best that you can be, I think. So, I'm like a goat. I'll eat anything you put in front of me, but bacon is one of the things that goes great with everything, I think.
Can you do the pre-cooked bacon, or does it have to be the fresh bacon?
It's bacon. Somebody cooked it somewhere. So it doesn't, you don't want to eat the raw bacon, that's for sure. But, yeah, it's something that is a staple.
Well, I don't know about raw, but, I like mine pretty limp. Are you a crispy guy or a limp guy?
I would have to say that I'm more crispy than limp, Chris, but thanks for asking.
It's good to know. Danny Mings, always a pleasure. Great to catch up with you. We'll have to do it again soon.
All right, thank you.
Good luck to the Indians. That's Dan Mings, head coach of Johnson City. With that said, we probably need to take a break here on the Saturday Sports Show, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
I'm Jason Lord with a look at your next rad weather. Clouds break for some sun and humid for today. We could see a thunderstorm in spots early on, high of 85, partly cloudy for tonight, low of 61, sunny for tomorrow, staying dry, high of 86, low of 64 for tomorrow night. Thunderstorms in spots by the afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy and humid on Monday, high of 87. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
This is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. It's been said that in order to grow, you have to change. Very rarely anymore do insurance companies ask the phrase to go out and get 3 estimates. The new phrase insurance companies are asking is, would you like to take your vehicle to one of our direct repair facilities? This is a way for your insurance company and collision repair center to help relieve the stress you may have from your unfortunate incident. And, as Landers Collision Centers has adapted to this forever-changing industry, we are extremely happy to announce that we are a direct repair facility for over 10 different insurance companies. It's likely that one of them is yours. From dealing with your insurance company, setting you up with a rental vehicle, lifetime warranty on repairs, and of course, Landers free lifetime detailing for qualified customers, Landers Collision Centers literally takes the stress from your incident and turns it back into a shiny new ride for you to enjoy again. Landers is here for you whenever you need us. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. 1-888-LANDERS. That's 1-888-LANDERS.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Tegpal Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Allow us to reintroduce to you our WMIX sports correspondent, John Shadowens. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. What's up?
Oh,
can you believe it's here?
Can I believe it's here?
It's almost
Never
football
left for
season.
me.
But high school football will be here on Friday, August 30th, of course, in terms of regular season action, and so many intriguing possibilities in this 2013 high school football season.
No, I agree. I can't wait. As usual, Black Diamond's very competitive this year. I'll see a lot more river-to-river ball this year as well. Looking forward to seeing Carterville and some of those good teams over there, too.
Black Diamond Conference, first off, let's go back. Coaching veteran that you are, new rules this year at the acclimation policy and everything else. What are your thoughts on that, first of all?
Thoughts on what, Denny? I'm sorry.
Thoughts on the acclimation process, the practice changes and all that?
Yeah, I don't think it's as big a deal as maybe some outsiders think it's going to be, because for the fact that we have our kids all summer now. I know we've had these contact days for a long time, but you didn't have as much participation as you do now. Kids know how important it is to get there in the summer, to utilize those contact days. You get a lot of your implementation in the summer now that you didn't before. You get a lot of your conditioning in as well. So I don't think it's as big a deal as it was, and a lot of coaches had went to the one-a-days anyway, one practice a day, where, I know as Professor Valier, because of the co-op with Woodlawn and Waltonville to make the travel easier, we went to one long practice in the morning with meetings and whatnot to kind of break up the physicalness of it. And so it's not as big a deal, I think, as a lot of people are thinking it's going to be.
Speaking of a big deal, the high school football season starts on Wednesday with practice and whatever not. Looking back, high school football teams in Southern Illinois, Harrisburg goes to the semis last year, DuQuoin to the quarters. Besides those two, it's been kind of sporadic for deep runs for Southern Illinois football. Is there a reason why that's going on right now in the last few years?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question that a lot of the coaches down here are trying to answer. That some people would say that football's not quite as important to the boys down here as it is up there. I'm not sure that's the case. I know that we have a lot of good basketball programs down here as well that they kind of compete for kids in the summer and whatnot. But I think a lot of it is the North.
up north right now, you're just going through a time period that they are just very, very strong. I'm not sure that the teams in the South are any weaker than they were in the past, but you've got some programs up north right now that are really doing a good job.
Speaking of doing a good job, and this will be you, as obviously you will go watch some games this fall. Have you already gotten your schedule out ready to go for the high school football season?
Week 1 for sure. I'm gonna check out Carterville and Benton, see what the Lions have got. I got to see them one time last year, but it was against a depleted Frankfort team, and they really didn't get to show what they could do. And I'll hit more Black Diamond games than probably any, but I kind of want to leave it open to see what happens in week 1 and 2 before I commit. I'm kind of leaning toward, I believe, Carmi-El Dorado matchup in week 2 this year.
Well, the flex schedule, you're like NBC now. You've got your flex schedule going on for the best games. Is that what you're trying to do?
That's a good play. That's one way to look at it. Yeah, you kind of want to see. But the Black Diamond is so competitive this year. It's hard that, outside of Chester, who on paper, they're the favorite, of course. But then you've got 5 or 6 teams after them that you can just shake them up in some really interesting situations as well.
Different, and obviously you mentioned Chester. Several of the coaches we had on this morning, mentioned Chester, El Dorado, and Carmi as the 3. But then, like you said, there's that middle group that has changed over the years with 5 or 6 teams in the middle there as well. Now, you mentioned on the river to riverside Carterville. You go to the Mississippi side first. You have some change in there. Sparta Steelville Co-op. Pinckneyville has a new coach. Al Martin's in his final year, I believe, at DuQuoin. Carterville's loaded with all this coming back. I mean, this is a time maybe of change in the Mississippi division on that side?
It could be. It's so competitive. My goodness. You get programs like HA and DuQuoin and Carterville year in, year out. You know how tough they're going to be. But then, you have programs like Nashville, there's nothing to sneeze at as well. Whenever they have a nice run of talent, they're the top dog. And you've got Sparta with all that athleticism down there that you're trying to get a harness on. I saw them play last year a little bit, and they've got speed out the wazoo. So it's an exciting time in Pinckneyville as well, with Todd Thomas coming in, and very, very good, hard-working coach. Not that the former coach wasn't, but Todd will do a good job as well.
Talking about DuQuoin, and maybe some pressure at DuQuoin this year on those kids wanting to send Al Martin out on a note, even though at DuQuoin there's pressure with it anyway, but more pressure with that going on.
Well, what you said there's always pressure at DuQuoin. Look at the numbers they get for a school of 380 kids. Look at their numbers. It's just unbelievable how important football is to young men in DuQuoin. So the competition for jobs is always fierce. I think they have, I believe I read 17 or 18 positions that were vacated, by seniors last year. So all that competition just to win a job, all that pressure on those kids to do that, and then on top of it, Coach Martin and his swan song. Like you said, it's always pressure-packed playing football at DuQuoin. This year will be a little bit more special.
Looking on the other side at the Ohio division, Harrisburg goes to the semis last year, losing the eventual state champ Rochester. They lose a lot of talent on the field. However, Heron and Harrisburg seem to be the 2 guys that are on top. Benton's been to the playoff the last 2 years, kind of maybe lurking in the shadows with their losses of talent in the last couple of years. And then you have improving Murfreesboro amongst others. This is kind of more as balanced of Ohio division as we've seen in quite some time.
I agree. Every one of those schools has taken their place, being an undefeated champion and also being the doormat. And so there's not much. You go from the penthouse to the outhouse in a hurry in that division. Frankfort has been the doormat the last couple of years, but it's not from a lack of good coaching. Brian Beery's a heck of a coach, and just talking to him in the offseason, he's very excited about what they've got going on over there. They'll be even more competitive this year. Like you said, Murfreesboro, who's been down in the past decade, play with anybody last year. I saw them a couple of times, and they should have beaten Anna the day that you and I were there. So the ones you mentioned plus those 2, heck, it's competitive there as well.
Competitive, and we go to the South 7. Obviously, Althoff, a 2A runner-up. It's kind of hard to judge them at that point. Kokia, obviously, with the talent, they're back. They're going to keep sports for another year. Then you look at the other 4. Mount Vernon is up and coming, a youthful change in the program. Marion has been the stalwart. What do you see out of the South 7 this year?
Well, I think that you look at the stability that you have at Marion, with Kerry Martin and his staff and what they've got going on there. I think that will go a long way. Because, like you said, the situation at Cahokia is kind of unstable. Carbondale, of course, had their problems in the off season. A good young coach coming up here to lead them. Mount Vernon up and coming, like you said. I think just when it all shakes out, I think the consistency and the program that Marion has built will come out on top there.
Of course, taking a look around at all of the what we call the Big Three conferences here in Southern Illinois, any programs that really, maybe from an outsider point of view, kind of stick out that might make a run this year?
Well, I'm not sure. I would love to see the Black Diamond win a couple of playoff games this year, and I think that the group at Chester can get that done. Wherever they'll probably land in 2A. You don't know what's waiting, of course, in rounds 1 and 2. But I think that they have a solid core and the coaching. I think they have a chance to do that. At Carterville is, they've been looking at this group for some time now. Their coaching is solid, and they're going to have that schedule that gets them ready, for a postseason run. That's what you like about them.
Well, certainly, and hopefully it'll work out this year to where we can all go to another game. I know it was kind of awkward last year where it worked out on a Thursday night, but before we can even get to that point, we do have to ask you the WMIX Sports social media question of the week this week, which hopefully is friendly to everyone, and that is, which food do you like bacon with the most? Or do you like with bacon the most?
My knee-jerk reaction is a good old bacon cheeseburger.
Nice. Any other, any condiments to accentuate the flavor of that bacon?
I'm a barbecue kind of guy. Barbecue bacon cheeseburger, that's my cup of tea right there.
That's good eating.
That's good stuff.
It is.
Coach, you'll be back with us all season. We can't wait. Thank you for, again, renewing as our annual correspondent.
Hey, I enjoy it, guys. Thank you.
That's John Shadowens, WMIX Sports Correspondent. One of a couple. We'll tell you more about that, of course, as we get into our football previews. That's a good look at the Black Diamond Conference. One more break, and we'll get that out of the way. We'll come back and wrap up our BDC preview. It's 2013 high school football. It'll be here before you know it, August the 30th. Kickoff. Wow. A little bit later this year, though. Thanksgiving, of course, always the same Thursday, 4th Thursday, November, but 14 weeks back. This year equates August the 30th. So, that said, we need a break. Brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
Hi, this is Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. I can't talk about the high interest rate on our new One product because then I have to get into disclosures that are longer than my commercial spot. I will tell you that our new product, One, is simply the highest rate in the market. One way to find out more is to come in to any of our 5 Jefferson County locations and talk to one of us and find out why you should be One. You can talk to one of us by calling 244-3000. Let me say this one more time. One from Community First Bank. You'll be one happy customer. Member FDIC.
No West End here on the downtown Mount Vernon as we look upon the King City. Of course, beautiful day for many events that are going on. One of them is the Kelly Lewis Memorial Poker Run. Gets underway at 11 o'clock at Dale's Harley-Davidson. All proceeds go to childhood cancer research, of course, at St. Jude's. We hope you'll give that a gander today. It starts at Dale's Harley-Davidson at 11 o'clock. You'll make runs to Woodlawn, New Minden. You'll circle around back through the King City. And, of course, you don't have to ride a motorcycle. You can follow in a car. Any type of motor vehicle, actually. I think they'll welcome all comers. Of course, there's raffle tickets available for some great prizes, including cash and meals and various things of that nature. So check it out, Dale's Harley-Davidson at 11 a day, right here in the King City off of the frontage road near the interstate. I believe they call that North 44th Street. That said, it is high school football preview time, and, of course, it's all courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Just to say that in case I didn't. Mine gets lost pretty easily, but it's easy to do. We're back in high school football time. The Black Diamond Conference looks interesting, of course. We owe you our answers to the WMIX Sports social media question of the week. You can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/WMIX Sports, or tweet us your answer on Twitter, I guess would be the easiest way to phrase that. Which food do you like bacon with the most? Simple as that. DC?
BLT.
Really?
With all the fixings. Oh, yeah.
What do you consider to be all the fixings outside of lettuce
tomato,
and tomato?
lettuce, mayo, that kind of deal.
Mayo? No Miracle Whip? No Tangy Zip?
Mayo, Miracle Whip, same thing.
No, I'm just curious. Some people like one but not the other. Some people like both. Some people like neither. Mine would be anything involving bacon and a jalapeno together. Whether it be stuffed jalapenos, whether it be... There's something at a local eatery in Saline County where they do chicken with a jalapeno and bacon. But it is outstanding. So anything with a jalapeno incorporated with it with bacon. Chocolate-covered bacon's not too bad. Bacon needs to be limp, otherwise known as chewy. But other than that... Of course, I guess if it wasn't... It has to be like completely done, though, in order to put the chocolate on it, though. Learn that. So there you go. Avery Barton, looking at me, looks like he may or may not have an answer to the question of the week. And he shakes his head. No, okay. We're not going to pander to our petrified board op over there.
No.
So, petrified producer, actually. I was looking for something alliteration-wise. I could have come up with it, but there you go. Anyhow, the Black Diamond Conference, of course, like everybody else, gets started on Friday, August the 30th for most. I believe Vienna does start. I was thinking they were at home, so I believe all, no? Yes, they are home. So all but Vienna and Johnston City will start on Friday the 30th. Those two will start on the 31st. Anyhow, getting some thoughts. Initially, it would appear that Carmi and Chester, probably the early favorites, along with El Dorado, according to some of the Black Diamond coaches we've had. Should be an interesting conference this year. It always is.
I like the fact I think Chester's obviously the odds-on favorite, undefeated last year and everything else with what they have returning. I don't think you can count out Carmi. I think with 15 seniors back, that's going to be huge. I just El Dorado's in the running. You know that they're going to be, somewhere in the mix. Now, I don't know where that may be or whatever, but, the three games that were picked out by Coach Rude, Chester, El Dorado, Chester, Carmi, Carmi, El Dorado, those were the big games that he picked out. And I think that's where it is what will happen. Chester, they will have to go to El Dorado. That's going to be hard on them to get on the bus and ride all the way over from Chester, El Dorado. Carmi will have to go to El Dorado. So you look at it already, El Dorado with a couple big games at home. And I look back at the El Dorado schedule. They've got Carmi coming to town. They've got Fairfield coming to town. They've got Chester coming to town. They'll go to Vienna-Goreville week 9. They'll go to Johnston City week 7. I think it's going to be a little tougher on El Dorado maybe to, they'll be at home 1, 2, 3, 4 home games, a little tougher to go on the road. But, again, I think it's Chester and then obviously El Dorado and Carmi.
Well, and you take a look at what you could call the top tier of the BDC, and, of course, Johnston City probably included in that. But Fairfield this year, I mean, there are serious car accidents. We're talking serious injuries that have kind of derailed the train there in Fairfield and unable to make the playoffs the past couple of seasons, finishing at 4 and 5. And really, that's one of those where a pretty favorable schedule to start with 4 or 5 at home. You're on the road at Hamco at McLeansboro, so that might be a little bit of an edge there as well. But that final home game out of that 4 or 5 stretch in week 5, of course, the rivalry matchup with Carmi. And then you're on the road at El Dorado, then you have Chester at home. But those last 2 games at JC and Chester, you really kind of have to feel like they have that 5th win going into those final 2 games in order for them to make the playoffs.
That's the key. And you got to get your 5 quick. I mean, you don't want to have to get in a situation kind of like Fairfield last year or other teams where you have to win week 8, week 9 and put that pressure on yourselves. You want to get that 5 as quick as possible. And I think for Carmi, they're going to have El Dorado week 1 will be a favorite. Week 2, they go to El Dorado. Week 3, home against Johnston City, at Chester, at Fairfield. That may be their season right there because you got to go 3 out of 4 on the road. I know Kurt Simon said, hey, it's okay. We can go on the road. Makes a difference. But again, a veteran Carmi team be used to that going on the road and playing in this conference.
Yeah, and if you're Chester, you think about the quality games that you had on the road last year that are at home this year. Carmi, Johnston City, you have Fairfield coming in. And really, if there is a favorable schedule in that Black Diamond Conference, it's Chester Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, Chester's got a nice little schedule. They got 5 home games this year on the schedule. And, of course, they'll go to Hamilton County week 1. They'll go to Cessna. That's really not a bad trip. St. Christopher, not a bad trip either. El Dorado is only their really long trip. Hamilton County and El Dorado, those 2 trips. that's a favorable schedule for a team that went 9-1 last year, 9-0 in the conference. That will help them tremendously.
Well, the Chester team that, lest we forget, gave Althoff a pretty good game, given how good the Crusaders were. I mean, it was a good enough matchup and a respectable enough outcome that you kind of wonder how they might have done against some teams in the South 7. But again, Althoff, of course, wasn't even a conference champion.
Right.
So, I mean, it's all perspective, and it's all just for discussion, more or less. But when you take a look at the rest of the BDC, and, of course, CZR has a lot to overcome this year to maybe sneak into the postseason, of course.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about SVW. I mean,
sure.
With Hamilton County, we did try to get a hold of the coaches. They're busy with late summer projects heading into Wednesday morning practice. Obviously, we're going to get Coach Beitler and Coach Hollis on the show the next few weeks. I think Cesar Valier at Waltonville Woodlawn, they lose a lot. I mean, they lost Widges at quarterback, Kulik at tight end, lost some guys that can get some things done over the last couple of years in that program, actually last 2 or 3 years. It's gonna be tough for them to turn it around, or not turn around, but to keep that going. Johnny Hall's been to the playoffs. They lose at Vienna-Goreville last year. A schedule that by the end of the year, the Red Devils will be on the road weeks 7, 8, and 9. That will be tough to handle. All night games this year for SVWW, and of course, we'll see what Johnny Hollis and staff have cooked up here in the next few weeks.
Well, that's probably the crazy thing. Of course, a final thought on SVWW is just the fact that we keep talking about what they lose. But yet they keep finding a way, it seems like the past 2 seasons under Coach Shadowens and now under Coach Hollis last year, they keep finding ways somehow to get in. And they just, whether it's sneaking in at 5-4, and, after they had the remarkable season of like 4 years ago now, got back in the year after that, then got in again, and then got in last year with that final game against El Dorado in a battle of 4-4 teams. But all in all, would not be surprised to talk about them being in the postseason in 2013. That's a look at the Black Diamond Conference here on your Saturday Sports Show, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. Back at it again next week, same time, same location, same web address. We'll talk about the river to river. We'll talk about some exciting teams and some exciting prospects in the